Secretary for Justice Paul Lam reiterated again today that while the government is considering allowing those arrested for state secrets offences to be entitled to the public interest defence, the threshold will be high and the conditions will be clearly spelled out in the bill.
The tournament also includes entertainment area to cater non-golfer audience. For example, there will be a concert taking place on the stage behind me on Saturday night, which is not a common practice in other golf events.
The bill on Article 23 will be gazetted on Friday and have its first and second readings in LegCo on the same day. Foreign Minister Wang Yi stresses China will continue to pursue peaceful and win-win relations with its global partners. And a Houthi missile attack on a cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden leaves 3 crewmen dead. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Executive Council convened a special meeting this afternoon to review the draft legislation for Article 23, aiming to have it taken to the legislature for the first and second readings tomorrow morning. The very same day tomorrow, the Legislative Council is expected to gazette the draft security bill.
以早一日得一日嘅原則完成立法。
A call for the swift handling of Article 23 legislation by Chief Executive John Lee when he returned to the SAR from Beijing on Tuesday. Just 2 days later, it's understood the Executive Council convened a special meeting in the afternoon. Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Tsang gave no comment to the press as to what was discussed. But a government announcement came soon after the 2-hour meeting. The statement said that the Safeguarding National Security Bill will be gazetted on Friday. Chief Executive John Lee had written to LegCo President Andrew Leung saying that the legislative work on Article 23 of the Basic Law is a constitutional duty for the entire SAR, and the legislature should make every effort to complete the legislation process as soon as possible. The CE said the earlier that national security can be safeguarded, the earlier the city can fully focus on its economic development and maintaining its long-term prosperity and stability. In a prompt reply, the LegCo president said, given the necessity and urgency of the bill, a special meeting will be convened at 11 a.m. on Friday for its first and second readings, the same day of its planned gazetting. Tam Yu Chung, a former lawmaker and vice president of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies, said the expedited procedure could build more trust and hence support from the central government towards Hong Kong. Meanwhile, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam and Secretary for Security Chris Tang attended a LegCo meeting on Article 23 for a second day. On the proposed incitement with intent charges, which cover intention to stir hatred and hostility towards Hong Kong and different districts in China, the Justice Chief said it doesn't include personal vendettas, but could encompass insulting descriptions about mainland tourists, such as incitement of hatred towards parallel traders in Shengshui. Lawmaker Peter Kuhn, also an Anglican pastor, relayed the religious sector's concerns about political confessions.
During confession, if somebody expresses anger towards the government, if this person has some radical thought, there is no need to report on his confessions. Not reporting it will not constitute an offense. However, if you hear about any harmful act, whether or not you are somebody from the religious sector or not, you should try to convince the person to do otherwise.
Secretary for Justice Paul Lam reiterated again today that while the government is considering allowing those arrested for state secrets offences to be entitled to the public interest defence, the threshold will be high and the conditions will be clearly spelled out in the bill. In Beijing, Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang today attended a full meeting of Hong Kong members of the National People's Congress. At a press conference during the annual session of the 14th National People's Congress, Foreign Minister Wang Yi stressed China will continue to pursue peaceful and win-win relationships with its global partners, and he criticized the U.S. for its attempts to suppress China, adding that Beijing is sincere in its goal to achieve peaceful reunification with Taiwan. Timothy Lee reports. 3 sailors have been killed, the first fatalities from Houthi attacks on ships off the coast of Yemen. Getting aid to the hungry in Gaza is a huge problem. Israel is coming under pressure from political allies and international agencies to allow more. The UN is predicting a quarter of those in Gaza are facing death by starvation if things don't change soon. David Garrett reports. Canada's government has reached a settlement with one of two Canadians who were detained in China for nearly 3 years on national security charges during a diplomatic spat between Ottawa and Beijing. Still ahead. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, easily dominating Super Tuesday primaries and caucuses, have unofficially set up a November rematch. Now, with Nikki Haley dropping out of the race for the White House, there is a new battle for her supporters. More in this report from NBC News. A jury convicted a movie weapons supervisor of involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of a cinematographer by actor Alec Baldwin during a rehearsal on the set of the Western movie Rust. The proceedings were a preamble to Baldwin's scheduled trial in July on the single charge of involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors
polling the jury.
Back locally, in last year's policy address, the government proposed setting up a designated museum on national development and achievements at the current site of the Science Museum in Chimsha-Choi. Now, there might be a change in the choice of locations. Director of Leisure. An investigation by the Office of the Ombudsman found that the government's 1823 hotline failed to resolve more than 4,000 complaint cases over a one-month period. The government announced Rex Ao-Yeung Pak-Kyun has been reappointed as chairman of the MTR Corporation for 1.5 years. And the MTR report. The government-sponsored Live Golf Hong Kong tournament tees off tomorrow. The organizer expects the event will bring $40 million to the city. The hotel industry, as one of the beneficiary sectors, has already witnessed a salary raise from pre-pandemic levels as a result of the mega events. SakuraIp has more.
The tournament also includes entertainment area to cater non-golfer audience. For example, there will be a concert taking place on the stage behind me on Saturday night, which is not the common practice in other golf events. Here's to help. SakuraIp, TVB News.
NBA, Sacramento's De'Aaron Fox tied a career-high 44 points as the Kings rolled to a 130-120 win over the Lakers. Fox tried, though didn't entirely manage to upstage LeBron James. David Garrett reports. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.